Alright, what is going on, everybody? We are gonna make a Legion TD2 tier list. So, I am not a pro player. I've only been playing, a few months, but honestly, I feel like that's the best person to make these lists, because if you look at this community ranking, I can tell you right now there's not this many S tier units, nor are half of these people S tier. Now, of course, there's some bias in that. There's some, people like certain units, blah blah blah, and that's all good and fine. But I think it's better for me as a newer player, which if you're watching this, you're probably a newer player too, or maybe you want to see what's kind of new, who's good now, whatever. That's fine. But I'm just going to go through as quickly as possible, giving a quick breakdown of every unit, where I place them and why, and then we will go from there. Now obviously, like I said, there's going to be some biases, there's going to be some things that you not agree with, but I would say most people are going to end up in this B tier, just kind of in the middle, as most lists like this end up. So let's just we'll just take the first one. We'll take Angler. I'm putting Angler in the C tier. I think being that he is 40 gold is not a bad thing, and he has not 2 upgrade pass, but he can be upgraded twice, which is good. Most units can only be upgraded 1 time, and sometimes units can be upgraded either within 2 pass, like Poliwag can either be a backline shooter or a tankier unit, depending on which upgrade path you take. Angler has just 2 upgrades in itself. But I would say both. Overall, he's not the best unit. He's okay for the gold that you spend and the gold that you upgrade, but overall he's just not... He just doesn't make moves, He doesn't do anything too well. He's just kind of there. He's just kind of a filler unit, if that makes sense. Antler... I'm gonna put Antler probably just in B. For 200 gold, pretty good tank, does pretty good damage. Overall a good unit. I really don't have anything bad to say, but there's nothing that really gives him the oomph to be an A or S tier. I think he's just a good overall tank. If I could put him like on this line of A and B, I probably would, because honestly there's not that many great tanks in the game for certain values, but he's definitely good overall. Aqua Spirit, ooh. I think I might have to put Aqua Spirit in A, and the reason is almost solely because there's 2 upgrade paths, both are good, and no matter his 50 gold buy or either upgrade path is the passive bounce that he does, which you can either do the fire element or I forget what the other one is called, but it slows down speed of who it hits, and the fact that he passively bounces to another target is very good, especially considering he's only 50 gold to start and he still bounces, and then both of his upgrades are like what, 120, 140, less than that. So good unit for the value you get. Banana Bunk, I'm gonna put Banana Bunk honestly on C, which a lot of people are probably gonna hate on me for that. But the fact that this man is almost 300 gold and he's a ranged tank, which that doesn't make sense to me at all. in the first place, but he's not even that great. I mean, he probably has one of the highest health pools in the game, which is great, just on buy. But honestly, just way too expensive. Like, I would take Antler over Banana Bunk because he's almost $100 less, and he's honestly probably gonna hold better. I think Banana Bunk can be good later. You know, if you have some extra money or you really need another tank unit and you can spend this amount, I think Banana Bunk is good, but I don't think he's worth 280 gold. Bazooka, I have to put on D. He is probably the worst unit in the game, honestly. He is terrible. Now, they did nerf him a while back, and that's why he is so bad now, to be honest. They lowered his attack speed and just makes him absolutely shit. Now, he does have 2 upgrade paths, which is good. He has the Pyro, which is area effect burning, or he has Zeus, which is basically just a big shock once he gets regenerates his mana, which he can be good with Steed, but Bazooka is just so bad. He's never gonna do a lot of damage. He attacks slow. He's never gonna clutch a kill or clutch a wave for you as a backline unit. Even as Zeus or Pyro, as Zeus, he's only really good if you have a Steed or someone else that gives mana regeneration. But Pyro is, like, everybody chooses Zeus over Pyro 100%. But, terrible unit. I mean, he's only 45 gold, but he should be like 5, and it still would probably be too much. Berserker, I'm gonna put in B tier. I think he's a decent overall tank, but he's basically just a boss killer. He's not too much more than that. The reason I say that is because his passive is the more attacks he hits on one single target, the more damage he does. So on like wave 10 against the big boss, he is one of the best units to fight against that, because he's going to consistently do more and more damage so long as he stays alive and keeps hitting him. But other than that, he's not really too amazing. He is good for, you know, the 190 gold that he is. Not a bad unit, but really if you would take off the fact that he's bad against bosses, he'd probably be in C or D. But as a boss killer, he's probably one of the best in the game, if not the best. Ooh, the skeletons. The skeletons are hard. I think I'm also going to put the skeletons in C tier. The reason being is that I think a lot of the tier 1s are just going to be lower naturally because they're just, you know, they're tier 1s, they're not as good in general. He does have 3 upgrade paths, which is why I definitely didn't put him down in D. So he can turn into a fire archer, a dark mage, and a tank unit. So that's a plus for him, and they're not that expensive to upgrade him into that. They're definitely very good. Especially like the dark mage gives more attack, fire archer is good, and they do, you know what, I am going to put him in B, because I think when you upgrade him, he turns into a really great unit, and he automatically has lifesteal, no matter if he's just basic or upgraded for all the tiers. Plus mana regen is always good. Butcher, I have to put Butcher in S. Now Butcher himself, not the most amazing unit, but the fact that he can give up to 6 other units lifesteal is insane. Some units like Nightmare, which we'll get to later, are literally only really worth using if you have Butcher, and there's a lot of units that have that problem, that if you don't have a lifesteal such as Butcher, they're just not worth a shit. So Butcher is definitely worth putting in S tier. The fact that you can give up to 6 units lifesteal ability, plus he automatically has lifesteal as well, so he's just constantly healing and healing, especially if he's upgraded as well. So he's definitely worth using, definitely worth putting a lot of people around, especially your carries. Buzz, I think I'm gonna have to put Buzz in C. The only reason why he didn't go to D is because him upgraded to his a little bit tankier self as the Monarch is pretty decent for, you know, a 20 gold unit. I mean, the upgrade is obviously not 20 gold, but also the fact that when he dies or the upgraded version of him dies, they do poison the target that killed him and or the area around him. So that's really good. And, you know, if you need somebody to take the split and, you know, do some extra damage or something, or just filler damage or filler split people, he's definitely decent enough to do it, especially with the poison and upgraded. Chain Fist, like I said, a lot of these like tier 1s, tier 2s are probably going to be on the lower end, just, you know, I mean, that's kind of just what they are. I really don't have anything too bad to say about Chain Fist, but I also don't really have anything good. I mean, it's a, what, $20, $25 unit. Upgraded is not that much better, not really, you know, worth it. Again, just kind of a filler unit for whatever you need, whether it's a split or just to kind of get some pressure off some other people or whatnot. Pilgrim, definitely S tier. I mean, there's no other person that like actively heals other units, and if he's by himself, he heals himself, so he can definitely just keep holding as long as you need him to. Again, we're going to bring up Steed a whole lot in this, but paired with Steed, the fact that he gets more mana being able to heal others and or himself is even more insane, and he does pretty decent damage for only being a 130 cost unit, so he's definitely worth using, definitely worth building around, especially if you have Steed. And honestly, just build a fuck ton of them. The more healing that goes out, the better, and they can definitely hold their own. Now, Disciple, yo, Fortnite chapter, pfft, nobody cares about Fortnite, son, not anymore. I would say, let's see, so I'll put Disciple in A. She's very good. She's pretty expensive, but very good unit. And the fact when you upgrade her, she gives mana regen, so that's another thing. But you have to upgrade her, so it's basically upgraded Steed. You're not your dad. Damn right. My kid wouldn't be playing that shit. But Afro is. She does do a whole lot of damage, but that's what I think I think she's tier 6, 5, definitely 5. I don't know if she's tier 6, but definitely worth using, especially later, especially upgraded if you can build some people around. A lot of people like to use her with, like, if you have protons, which protons are shit, but you know, if that's just kind of what the game gives you and what it comes down to, then build protons around her, give them that mana buff. Egg, I have to put down in D. I mean, a lot of, you know, high level players or pros or whatever is going to be like, oh my god, Egg is so good. It's fucking stupid, alright? Like, it's super expensive. You have to wait for it to hatch. If it gets broken before it hatches, it's worse. So you spent, what, 280 gold for a possible shit unit. And even the Hydras aren't that great. Yeah, they keep spawning, but Raid Shadow Legends, I have heard of it. I haven't played it. But and it's so hard to figure out how to correctly use them. It's just not worth it. Not worth all the gold, not worth the time, not worth the possibility of you getting a shit unit for almost 300 gold. Eternal Wanderer has to be S tier. Probably my favorite unit. Yes, maybe a little biased, but the fact that this dude, 120 gold, does decent damage, has decent health pool. You kill him, he revives himself automatically, and then attacks faster and does more damage. Now if you upgrade him, higher health pool, more damage. You kill him, he revives, attacks faster, does more damage. The dude can hold up your team. And he's only under 25. Definitely worth, definitely one of the better units in the game, especially for damage and tanking, to be honest. Now, Firelord, I'm just going to put him in B. The only reason why I'm going to put him in B is because, honestly, I don't have too crazy amount of time played with him because he's super expensive. Like, you're going to use a million other units before you ever even put this guy out. And he's not... I mean, he's good for, you know, the tier 5, 6 unit that he is, but like I said, you're just not really even going to put him out. So he's not super worth. If you do put him out, he's going to do decent for you. But like the egg problem, you know, is that worth it for you? Now, another one of my favorite units, the Gargoyle. I would put it in S, but the regular Gargoyle, the regular $40 original buy Gargoyle is not the greatest. Decent for the cost, but not the best. But upgraded to Green Devil for 120, so 160 total, is an absolute tank for the cost that you're getting. Very, very good. One of the few units that does like magic damage that you can consistently get, put out, have a lot of. Or maybe it's Arcane, I actually forget. But Green Devil is a monster. Only 40 gold to get regular Gargoyle, which is still okay. He's a good unit for the 40 gold. But then you upgrade him for 120. Absolute monster, 100% worth. Gate Guard, I have to put in B. Upgraded to the Cerberus version is still very good, and he's very good. I would say the only reason why he is good is because of his ability, the fact that he is spawning units. Him himself, as far as like damage and health pool, is not. So that's why I have to keep him in B. I mean, if he would have more damage, higher health pool, etc., he would be higher, but he doesn't. But his ability is very good. I mean, spawning more units to do more damage and have the wave attack other people is very much worth it. And he's only 100 gold, so not that bad at all. Definitely worth the value there. Golden Buckler, I gotta put in C. Again, some of these lower tier quote-unquote tanks. I mean, like Pee-wee is a tank, 25 gold. Chain Fist is a tank, 20 gold. Golden Buckler is a tank, 50 gold. Like, you kind of see that they're all going to be pretty low because they're not good. They're filler tanks. They're not real. They're good against certain stuff. Now, Golden Buckler, I would say, I would probably put him on this line of almost being in B, but still in C, like that halfway midpoint. Because he is good against ranged units, he takes less damage from ranged units. So that can be beneficial, especially how you place him. And yes, Chain Fist does do more damage when he has lower health, but by the time his small ass health pool gets to that low where he's attacking faster, he's dead anyway, so it's not worth it. But Golden Buckler is okay for the price and against certain waves, but he's not gonna hold anything, and he's definitely not gonna, you know, save your team at all. Growl, I gotta put in C. I would think most people would agree. The only reason Growl is good is because literally his ability is the fact that you can sell him for almost 100% of what you bought him for. So every unit in the game, when you sell them, it's like I think it's about a third of what you paid for them or something like that. Relatively low. But with Growl, he's 145 gold. I think you can sell him for like 140, 130, something up there, where you're not losing that much. So a lot of people use him to get into egg and stuff like that. So he can definitely be beneficial to, like, you know, hold something down, fill for a couple waves, and then sell so you can increase, or, you know, get the big upgrade, or buy some more units or something like that. And he does have 2 different upgrade paths, which both are decent and actually pretty good for, you know, being what they are. And he's, you know, not too expensive being 145 gold, but there's definitely better tanks that are the same or a little bit more gold that are going to hold your team better than Gargoyle will. Boar, I have to put in C. A lot of people are not going to agree with that as well, but I think the only reason why I have to put him in C is the fact, you know what, I'll put him in B, but again, the only reason why he's this low is the fact that you have to literally place him at the furthest back point of the map. Now, you don't have to, but for him to do good, to get up to the wave wherever you're going, wherever you have your, you know, first unit, and where your first unit and the first person of the wave are going to collide is where your boar is going to hit. So you're basically always going to put them at the very, very back, like literally back tiles, and he's going to run up, and he's going to do a pretty good amount of damage, 100%, and he does have a pretty good health pool. And even better, that the fact that he's not the first unit that the wave sees, he's not going to get targeted first. But all that being said, he's $270 that you have to place all the way in the back, and you have to kind of work around that. You have to work around the fact that he's all the way in the back, and you have to have some kind of help up front. And other than the initial hit from the charge, after that he really doesn't do that much damage. Now, the hit from the charge, absolutely massive. If you watch the damage scale, he's probably going to be top, you know, depending on how many units, he's probably going to be, you know, top 3 to 5 that you have out there, just solely almost based off the hit that you do from the charge. But it's hard to work around units that you are forced to put in the very back. And again, there are kind of just better useful tanks that you can put where you need to, or have a little bit better placement options. Now, talking about backline units is the Harpy. I'm gonna put Harpy in C. Again, so literally Harpy's passive says the more tiles that she travels before she attacks is the higher attack speed she's gonna have. So you want her, again, basically same with the Boar, you want her all the way in the back, very, very backline unit, so then she flies up and has more attack speed. Now, she can get increased mana / attack speed with people like Steed, but the fact that you have this unit that is going to be basically behind everybody else and still doesn't do that much damage. I mean, she's only 35 gold, so she's not gonna like carry your team by any means. And the upgraded version of her, Sky Queen, yes, is better. Obviously, everybody's upgraded version is better, but again, for the tier that you're getting is basically what you're getting on the field. And she's difficult, like I said, to figure out how to place. Like if you're running a Serpent strat, which we will talk about later, but if you're running a Serpent strat with Harpy, you literally have to have a Steed for her to be able to do anything. Like you just have to. There's no other way around it. Now, if you just, need filler units, if you just need a little bit more DPS, you need somebody that's good this particular wave or these particular waves, etc., okay. But overall, the placement is difficult and worth less than, the 35 gold that you're paying for her. She's just not that good. Now, for newer players, Honeyflower is a beast. The AoE poison damage that this thing does is very good, very worth it. And honestly, if it's attacked first, it is very good because everybody is surrounding it and going to be passively taking a good amount of damage. But it falls off very quickly and doesn't do that much damage from the attacks. It's basically how many enemies can I poison and for how long? Now again, I'm somewhat of a newer player, so when I first started playing, Honeyflower was, a beast, amazing, loved it. But then you see that it falls off really quick. And yes, you can upgrade it and it'll be okay again, but it's, 130 gold. It's worth, the first X amount of waves. You definitely want everything attacking it first, make it be, the split, or, if you're running some kind of, pyramid scheme type of thing, that's your girl, guy, whatever it is, thing. Infiltrator. I have to put in B. Honestly, I think this is just a good, solid overall unit. Nothing too great, nothing too bad. 80 gold. Does pretty good damage, has pretty decent health pool for being 80 gold and not a tank either. He is a attacking tank or whatever you'd like to call that. It's not a tank, not a DPS. It's both. That's him. The upgraded version is decent, and you can give him shurikens to turn him into somewhat of a ranged unit, at least for the beginning of the wave, and they're cheap, $1 for the non-upgraded, and then I believe it's $5 for the upgraded version. You can only buy I think 5 to 7 or something, so worth it there. But overall, just a good solid unit. If you need somebody that is gonna hold your team up and you got 80 gold, that's your man. The looter is 10 gold. I don't think I need to explain beyond that. I mean, it's 10 gold. No health. No damage. If you upgrade him, he can go get you extra mythium. he will then not be on the field. So is $100 and something worth like 3 Mythium every wave or every other wave or so something. Like that's basically it. Lord of Death. I'm gonna put an A. Very good damage. Very good ability. The fact he's basically a better gate guard. He's gonna spawn bone dragons, which have more health than his Cerberus and dogs and whatnot. Does good damage. He is expensive. He's a tier 5/6, whatever. 265 gold. Gonna be, almost double that to upgrade. So you have to watch out for that. But you are gonna get, 265 gold worth of value for sure. Especially when he keeps spawning dragons. And if you're using Forsaken, which there are, factions in this game, if you like to think of it like that. If you're using Forsaken and you put him in the back behind your butcher, he and his dragons, same with Gate Guard by the way, are going to get the lifesteal. So that's super beneficial. Again, more people being around the butcher like Gate Guard and Lord of Death, and their units that they are spawning once they get their all every X amount of time are gonna be amazing, especially paired with Butcher. Mask Spirit, the only reason why I'm putting him or it in C and not D is the fact that there are 2 upgrades, 1 path but 2 upgrades. He does shoot at 3 separate units at once, which can be good, but it's not that much damage. He's 25 gold? 25 or 35? Pretty sure it's 25. Yeah, he's 25 gold. 70 for first upgrade, and then I think like 120 for second upgrade or something like that. Again, okay unit. I mean, you're getting the value you're getting, but there is 2 upgrade paths, and he does get better. But as far as, backline DPS, if that's all you have, you're going to be in trouble, but, Millennium. I have slowly loved this tower more and more. It is expensive, 270 gold, but it does massive damage. It does 270 gold worth of massive damage. Okay, and if it kills a unit on hit, he's the kill that does it. Or it, sorry, I keep saying he for everything. It does an explosive radius, so damages the other units that might be around the unit that it killed. Now, same for a boss. It is so helpful against boss units. It does a lot of damage. Very useful. Like I said, it is expensive, but it is worth it if you can buy him. He's gonna clutch stuff, he's gonna kill a lot of things, gonna do a lot of damage, help your team. Mudman. I think Mudman is the worst, most expensive tank in the game. I would put him on D, but he does have his uses, and he is okay. The only reason why he's in C is because he does have he has 140 gold tank worth of health pool. But that's it. He does absolutely 0 damage. I mean, like, none. He's slow at attacking. Now you upgrade him, he gets an even bigger health pool. Again, great. No damage, no attack speed. Not really worth it. Now you can harden him, which harden means that he takes even less damage that specific wave, but then the wave after that he takes more damage because you hardened him that previous wave. So, you know, hit and miss what you want to do with that. Alright, we got the Nico Cat. This one is difficult. I think I'm going to have to put him in C. Maybe on the line of going into B. 60 gold unit. Does pretty decent damage, pretty good health pool for 60. There is no upgrade for the cat. What you do is feed it fish. So it has up to 7 stacks, and they don't go away. Once you buy one, you bought one. And they are 30 gold each. So essentially you're spending 270 gold at the most, which is the initial buy plus all 7 stacks. And at some point, I believe just on the last stack, it does get lifesteal. But the stacks do make it have more health, increased damage. So it is good. You're getting value. I actually might go ahead and just put them in B. Overall, good unit. Now, Nightmare. Nightmare is difficult. I just have to put him in B. And the reason is, like I talked about earlier, he is honestly really only worth a shit if you have lifesteal, so if you pair him with Butcher. Other than that, I mean, he does do very high damage. That's just saying, very high damage, very low health. So you have to place him in specific spots, make sure that they don't target him, especially not early. Now, Doppelganger, which is his upgrade, is even better. Gets very good, does very good, but so little health can be killed so quickly and lose out on your 180 gold DPS unit. He basically has to be paired with Butcher. Now, if he had a little bit more health or something, he would be higher for sure. But basically, if you're not pairing him with Butcher, then he's down here in the lower tiers. Pee-wee! We gotta just go C. 25 gold, I think. I mean, he's quote-unquote a tank for that rate. You know, much like these units here. Not that great. You can boost him, make him a little bit better for 5 gold for that wave, and you can do that every single wave. Okay unit, but you know, these are basically all lower tier units except for some of the ones that I have personally just found that don't help. Now, if you're still watching, most of this guide is based upon what I've seen, what I've had on my team, what is good against a lot of waves, what is good paired with each other, as well as what's good against the campaign on normal and hard, what I've found useful, most beneficial, worth the gold that you're spending for them, you know. Poliwag, I have to put in C. The only reason why it's not lower or higher is because it does have 2 upgrade paths. Like I said at the very beginning, you can upgrade it to Serpent, which is going to... So Poliwag is a backline shooter DPS. If you upgrade it to Serpent, it's just gonna, you know, do more of that better. But if you make it a tank, it is a decent tank. I mean, it's 15 gold, and then I believe it's 80 no matter which upgrade you take, so less than 100 gold total. You're getting a decent unit. Overall, the damage is not there at all, no matter even if you upgrade it or not, which is why it's so low down here. But again, for what you're spending, that's kind of what you're getting. Now, Priestess, we gotta go A tier. 190 gold does a pretty good amount of consistent damage. Once she ults and consistently keeps getting her mana, she heals herself and keeps doing even more damage. So she just gets better and better. Again, if you pair her with Steed, it's even going to be that much more nasty. Very good unit for what you're spending. Honestly, just nothing bad to say. She really doesn't have like a umph to get her into the S tier, but very, very good for the 190 gold that you're spending. Proton has to be in D. I mean, like literally basically one tap amount of health, basically the same as the looter. It is a backline unit. It is going to do consistent more damage. Again, if you pair it around Starcaller, the upgraded version of Disciple, or Steed or something, it will get better because the more mana that it gains, the faster attack speed it's going to have. And you can upgrade it one time for 70 gold. It's 20 naturally. But honestly, it's not even worth it. I mean, if you have 20 gold and that's all you have, that I wouldn't even spend it on a Proton. If you have like 60 gold, you could spend it on plenty of other units that are gonna do better and have your team better. Ranger, turned into Daphne, once you upgrade it, is an A tier unit for sure. I would argue that it is the best backline DPS in the game. Only 55 gold to start. Upgrade is 125 gold, which turns into Daphne. Daphne basically zones in on a target and makes that target take increased damage. So against bosses, it's very, very good. Against, you know, certain sins that the enemy gives you, like brutes or something, if it targets them, very good. Does good damage, can definitely clutch a couple of rounds if you need her to. I would again say probably the best backline unit, hands down, especially for the worth that you're getting with just 55 gold into 125. So what, 180 total gold for a very, very good backline unit. Steed, who we have been talking about for this entire video, has to be S tier. She is the only person to give other units mana naturally as herself day one. Gives a lot of mana, can spread it out, give it to Pilgrim, give it to Proton, give it to Priestess. Anybody that is behind her, around her, wherever it will reach. She is 80 gold. She does a pretty good amount of damage, has a pretty good amount of health pool. There's literally nothing you could do bad with putting out a Steed. If nobody on your team is good that wave and you know have 80 gold and you need somebody out there, even if you have no people that use mana, put a Steed out there, you won't be disappointed. One of the best units in the game for sure. Sand Badger, I'm gonna have to put in A tier as well. 195 gold is a little expensive, you know, it's on the higher end for sure, but that is probably the best valued tank in the game. Now, Antler is 200 gold, but has less health. Probably does the same, maybe a little more damage, but not enough to warrant putting it over Sand Badger. Sand Badger is good. It will hold. It will do okay damage, but it is gonna tank for you. If you need a tank, that is your thing. Nothing bad to say about it. Serpent. Now, this is where it gets hard. The Serpent strat is probably the best strat in the game, as far as against an enemy sending you units, which is Legion TD2. So it is going to have to be an S tier. Now, If anybody doesn't know what the Serpent strat is, I will tell you. If you read its, passive and whatever, what it tells you to do, it says it goes underground when the wave starts. Put it up front, like it says. Now, what do you mean by up front? Am I putting my units up there? No, no, no. You put, let's say you start the very game. You start with a Serpent. If you know you have a Serpent, alright, bet. You have a Serpent strat already right there. 100% use it. Put all of your units at the very middle of the field and behind that. So like the last half of the field, not the very front. Put Serpents in the very, very front row. And what they're going to do is, when the wave starts, they're going to burrow underground and they're going to wait. The wave will pass and it will go up to your frontline units. Now, if your enemy sends Lizard, the most sent mercenary in the game, with Hermit, who is both backline mercenaries that are going to stand behind the wave and cause problems. Cannon, Drake, Four Eyes. What's going to happen is they're going to be basically right around your Serpent, because the wave has walked up so far in the map to get to your technical frontline unit that their backline units, such as the people I just listed, are now basically right around your Serpents. Your Serpents will then come out of the ground and eat them up and take care of those backline mercenaries that they sent, and then come help the rest of your team if they need to. Now, 90 gold, very much worth it. Not the best unit in the game in itself, but the strat that you can use with them is definitely the best. And Serpent upgraded is massive, massive damage, like chunks off bosses and stuff. 100% worth it. Oh, the Soul Gate, or the Shrine, is terrible. What goal are we trying to reach? So I have almost 600 followers on Twitch. I got like less than 15 subs for YouTube. I think that's it. Okay, yeah, Shrine is terrible. It's like, what, 270 gold for, what, you just spawn some shitty units. I think only 3, maybe 4 of them, and then it just breaks. It's not fucking worth shit. But I am gonna play some Among Us here in a minute, though. I actually had some fun, because they redid the, they allowed you to, like, type now. So, very good. Tempest. Tempest is B. Maybe A if you upgrade it. But for 90 gold, does pretty good damage. If you upgrade it, it gives more damage to the aura around the upgrade, so you kind of have to think about that when you're building it. But okay enough of a unit. Warg, I don't get it. I don't understand how or why people use Warg. For 85 gold for a tank, he's not worth it. Yes, he has 2 upgrade variations that you can build around, but doesn't do any damage, doesn't have a health pool as a tank that a tank should. Not fucking worth it. Lyle Shroom, I'm gonna have to put in C2. So it starts with, what, half health, and then regenerates throughout the wave so long as it lives. So you have to put it behind a bunch of shit, which is fine, and it does do pretty good amount of damage, and does have a pretty good health pool for 90 gold. And upgraded, it is pretty good, especially if you can make the round last long enough to where it's not being targeted, which is hard to do, but so long as it's not being targeted, it can definitely regen a lot of health. And again, if you can even pair it with something like a Butcher where it's getting lifesteal for hit as well, it's going to be pretty nasty. But overall, The fact that it's a unit that starts with half the amount of its health and can possibly regen it so long as it's not going to get targeted is kind of on the lower end, at least for me. Windtalk, very good, especially when upgraded. Does massive amount of damage. 85 gold to start. I think it's I want to say 185 for the upgrade, which is kind of a lot for, you know, being a tier 3 unit. But the upgrade does massive damage, gives it a lot more health to tank, and honestly, just as itself, it's actually pretty decent amount of tankiness. Not a whole lot of damage, but once upgraded again, and if you upgrade it and have somebody like Steed to give it the mana to keep spraying its ult, very, very good. Yuzora, she was my original Bae, I'm not gonna lie. But she's not too amazing. Now, no matter what they send the first 2 waves, even if they double send Snail on both, she can hold the first 2 waves by herself, no matter what. That's why she's amazing. And the fact that she has, I think it's like 25 or 35% chance to dodge any oncoming attack is huge, especially the fact that she's 190 gold tank that you can miss consistently and does okay damage, has a pretty decent health pool. But she does fall off. I mean, if she's up front tanking, which she should be, unfortunately she gets targeted by a lot of units. You're not going to dodge that many because there's so many people targeting her that the dodge chance is kind of basically out at the window. But still pretty good, especially early game, worth 190. APS, though it does have the AoE to increase attack speed of all the units, it does shit damage, and it's not worth 150 gold to just slightly increase attack speed of your backline units. You might as okay, so 150 gold, so I can get almost 3 rangers for that. You might as well just do that instead. Like, yeah, it's gonna increase the ranger's attack speed, but not by that much, and it's not gonna do shit for damage. Never seen a more L tier list? Oh, I know. It's pretty shit. Well, it's hard, because, you know, all these units, like, even when upgraded is like, ugh. But a lot of these units down here are, like, tier 1s. Like, they're cheap, so they're naturally gonna be down here. Elite Archer, we'll put in B. There's not really a problem with him. He's 145 gold. Shoots at 5 people at once, which is pretty good, but doesn't do too much damage. Nothing crazy to even worry about. Not that good, not that bad. Radiant Halo, we'll put in A. It is expensive. I think it's like I don't even know, actually. I don't use it enough. But it does, every time it quote-unquote ults, it goes more damage over time. So it's definitely gonna, you know, as long as you keep it alive, it's gonna do some massive damage in the end. This is the game that me and Seth play, Legion. I'm just making a tier list for it. And then Holy Avenger. Holy moly, can be an A tier. It's hella expensive for 270 gold, but once it starts ulting, it's pretty much over. It's just gonna smash everything, and it does have probably the biggest health pool in the game to start, aside from maybe like Banana Bunk or maybe Sandbedger, but very much worth it. So yeah, some of these people, I wish there was like lines that I could put in the middle, you know, but overall, don't fuck with these people. They're just gonna let you down. Shit's ass.